I'm all about marketing and branding, as many of you know. So I actually relocated back here in 2006 with my family. We had lived here for about 8 years, relocated upstate New York to Saratoga, and then relocated back. I had done real estate for about 6 months up in New York. I was actually just out of training, and my husband told me we're moving back to Philly. So unfortunately, I was about 3 days into real estate before I knew I was leaving the New York area. So I did a decent amount of transactions in a 6-month period up there. It was attorney review state, so it was very, very different than Pennsylvania. But it wound up, I knew a lot of people up there, but relocating back here in 2006 was not an ideal time to start in real estate, so I opted to try to jump back into the workforce. I had worked for Merrill Lynch for 10 years in Princeton, and before I had left and gone up to New York. So I thought that I would just jump back into obviously the business world and doing some marketing and advertising for Merrill Lynch. But there were no jobs at that, that time. And really what I decided to do is now I had just missed an opportunity in 2006. So obviously with no jobs out there, because as you all know, the economy kind of crashed, I jumped into real estate. So 2007, I started like mid-year, like May of 2007, and jumped right in. So it was not a great time to start real estate, and I had no center of influence here. So obviously not an ideal time, or the mindset was obviously you needed a sphere of influence to start. So I basically started attempting to brand myself. So my whole goal was to brand myself, learn the process, learn real estate in Pennsylvania, and did that for about 1.5 years. Pretty successfully, I guess, to most standards, but really what I needed was I needed a big paycheck. I've got 4 kids. I needed a big business. So I was all about building a real estate business, not about being a realtor. So that is what I think made me a bit different than most realtors that start in the business. I was starting a real estate business. It was not being a realtor. So my whole goal, as many of you know, was to start a team. At the time, teams were not, we didn't have a lot of teams in Coldwell+Banker, Hearthside at least. So they jump fast forward back to 2000, maybe, I guess it was probably 2009. I actually started under Marty Milner. Really that was an opportunity that lent itself to me kind of teaming up with Marty. It was a great opportunity for me to kind of piggyback what marketing he was doing, because I was really not in a position to financially afford the marketing effort or the branding that I really wanted to do. So that worked for a period of time, but I really needed to jump out on my own again and really do the branding and marketing on my own. So that was a great learning experience, and really just jumped back into the market and made a commitment that I was going to brand and market myself. Started spending a lot of money, which, who knows? I don't know if that was the right thing to do or not the right thing to do, but I needed to commit to doing something, which I think is the hardest part about being a realtor, is what do you commit to, not knowing what's going to work and what's not going to work. So when we talk about, Steph, when you would ask me what did I do in my first year, let me backtrack a little bit. I actually had a purpose every single day. The easiest part about being a realtor is that there's really no accountability. Nobody's really watching what you're doing, and you're an independent contractor, so you're your own boss. That can be great and wonderful, but if there's no accountability, we're human. We're going to kind of fall short of what we're really setting out to do every day. So basically my whole theory was to go back to basics. Obviously I didn't have a sphere of influence, so I really did jump into open houses, anything that I really can jump into. I was always in the office every day, most of the day, because really learning from your peers was a really good thing for me to do. Just kind of overhearing the conversations that people were having, learning about the market, things like that, and really being present in the day and having a purpose every day and saying, what did I really learn today, and what did I do to really grow my business? And really what I was trying to do was grow my business and learn the business at the same time, which is typical of a realtor. So one of the things that I did notice is that, some days there was days I was kidding myself. I pretended I was being a realtor and doing my job, and honestly I wasn't. So really making yourself accountable and making sure that those things could happen. My first year and my second year.
Can I interrupt you for a second? What year did things kind of click? When you say you kind of you were doing some branding in year 1 and year 2. What year you started spending some money? What year did you say, okay, I feel like I've got my feet underneath me and I'm doing something?
Well, it kind of depends. I mean, I don't exactly know who's on the call. I mean, I don't know exactly where everyone's at in their level of business, but I would say that my first half year, let's say the 2007 from May till the end of the year, I did about 7 deals. That to many would be a really good start. To me, that wasn't a real estate business. I needed more transactions, so it was all about the transactions. Second year, I probably did 12 or 14 deals. Again, I still didn't consider myself successful because I always say that there's one paycheck that goes to the IRS and there's one for me. And that would mean that there's 12 months a year, so I need 24 deals. So my goal from year 1 was to get 24 deals so that I could actually consider myself a successful business. So probably by the third year, I would say things kind of clicked in. It was a combination of me doing a ton of marketing, committing financially, and really just, I was entrenched in the business. So I took it very, very seriously. I mean, some of the disadvantages of the way I run my business, it is 24/7 for me. When I wake up in the morning, I'm doing real estate until I go to bed. I'm trying to get a better balance on that, but that is what made me successful. So I think a lot of people think it's what you do. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. So I think that not that people don't work hard, but I think it's like you don't know when the business is coming, so you really need to be just available of when it's there. And it is always inconvenient. I'm going to tell you, every good piece of business I've received has always been at the absolute wrong time. So there's something that has to give there. So, right now it's really just trying to find balance.
Okay. So what does a day in your life look like?
Okay, so like I said, it's really 24/7 for me. When I wake up in the morning, it's my business has changed a little bit. I'm kind of a little bit more reactive now because I've got this great business, but everything's 911. So I am now spending a lot of my time just really putting out fires, which is, you can only do that for a certain period of time. I don't have time to build the business anymore, right, because I'm there. But now if I'm only putting out fires, I'm not really building the business. So it's really trying to find that balance of doing both. And I have to say, to a lot of people it might seem like I'm successful, but I really have a lot to learn. I also have a lot of changes that I need to make based on the new business. So when I wake up in the morning, I always know exactly what's going on with the real estate market. I look locally and I look nationally. Just to hear what those buzzwords are out there, what really they're saying today, maybe about mortgage, maybe about trends, maybe about the bond market, really just knowing a little bit of information about that. Then my sole goal is to know the inventory. So I jump on trend, I know exactly what's going on, what's coming on, what's going off, what pended, who sold. I kind of track who probably showed my listings and who pended something and what they bought instead of my listings. I jump around a bit on that, but it's really good knowledge. I will say that the brokers opens, which I know a lot of people don't do. I think we are a company that totally supports each other in that, but I do think that that is a critical part to do every single week, because if I do at least 4 brokers opens a week, that's 16 a month, and 16 times 12 is how much? That's how I learn my inventory, and that's how I can get really ahead of the market. So when I get a lead or I get a call, I market, and I may not have had a buyer in that price range, but I'm totally aware of, if I'm getting a listing, I typically have been in pretty much every house, especially in the Newtown Yardley area, which would be primarily my market. And having a real good view that day of my buyers and my sellers and reevaluating that. I mean, I call it an internal whiteboard, but I have my buyers and my sellers. I have to say I'm a little bit out of control now, so I really do need an actual physical whiteboard to actually reevaluate, what do I need to do today and who needs to be, touched that day, and, who do I need to call, and, how do I, keep on that. And so the balance for me is managing those 911 calls and really taking control of my business and trying to, have the day become what I want it to be and not what it's just going to, lay out for me on the 911. Because as we know, all of our buyers and sellers, they have to have everything, answered ASAP, and if they don't, we're in trouble. So I'm trying to manage that a little bit better. But 24/7 real estate.
Yeah. What about what systems do you use every day? I know that you have an assistant. But talk to us about some of the systems that you use, and it sounds like you're still trying to get, like most of us, still trying to get a handle on what those systems will be. But tell us either what you're looking into or what you're doing and that sort of thing.
So, yeah, I do a business plan every year. Usually in a downtime, usually January, I will reevaluate. December, January, I reevaluate every year. What worked in the past 12 months and what do I think I'm going to change for the new year? And again, real estate's a little helter-skelter. We try to think that we have control, but we really don't have as much control as we would like. So I did, in 2013, hire an assistant, and that has been just an awesome experience. It's just been great, and it was really probably a year behind what I needed. I probably needed it in 2011, but financially couldn't commit to it. It's definitely a total game changer, and it was not easy for me to commit to that. I wasn't making the money that I'm making now, but nonetheless, I think when you're at a certain level, I'm now committing to more money. So percentage-wise, you're kind of at the same. So I have a part-time assistant that I've had for 2 years. I do think that I need a full-time assistant. Unfortunately, that's just not probably going to happen until next year. I am changing my business plan this year. I am trying to build an actual team, still trying to figure out exactly what makes sense. So when you ask me about systems, obviously these systems are great, but if you don't have anybody really managing those systems, why bother having a system? So I am only one person, so for me to add a system, somebody needs to input, somebody needs to manage it, somebody needs to follow up with it, and I'm really only adding more work to what I already can't handle. So I need to take the business to another whole level, which I do think actually adds 3 employees or 3 team members, I'll say, and I'm still trying to figure that out. I really need the assistant really just organizes my information. Then I need really a processing agent, which I'm working on. We're working through some details on that. And really, from a business standpoint, I do like buyers and sellers. I don't like one or the other. Yes, sellers for certain reasons, but I don't think that you can really just call yourself a listing agent. That always confuses me, that agents just say they're a listing agent. You can't do listings without buyers. And when you've been hired by somebody to sell their house, they typically want you to be their buyer's agent as well. So managing that process is time consuming. So working on that. So working on a couple of buyer's agents to kind of assist in some of that, more so for the new buyers that are coming in, that the systems hopefully are in place to actually bring in new buyers so that I can build a business for 2 buyer's agents, but that I would have a vested interest in my business. So as many of you know, I've shared a lot of business with internal agents that I really needed help with, but you can't really build a business that way. That's kind of a reactive way of saying, listen, I can't handle it, can you help me out? But that's not building my business. So I'm still trying to work out some of those details.
Okay. It sounds like in talking to you that you're not even sure that have you reached the level of success that you feel like you're successful? You almost sound like you don't feel like you're successful.
No, I'm totally disappointed in the way I'm doing my business right now. And I don't want to sound arrogant in that. I'm very appreciative for the success that I've had. But I think what happens is you get to a level that, okay, so now it's working and the information's coming in, but I don't know exactly what is really true business and what's not. So I don't know what I'm handing off. I'm handing off maybe 10 leads that don't do anything. Am I handing off a business that's $1 million? Yes, I've handed off, millions of dollars of business, and I need to do that. But you don't really know exactly what is true business and what's not. So I think one of my whole goals is that every lead that comes in is an unknown. I have had a $3 million property that I did bring 3 buyers for, but never settled it. So I actually spent about $15,000 or $20,000 on that one listing alone. And to tell you the truth, I got a big old goose egg on that. I got no money. So give me a Levittown any day. This is all about transactions. Don't worry about the price range. Don't worry about $1 million, 700, 500, 200. It's transactions. Do as many as you can, and they will bring more business. So you can't really be discriminatory against leads or opportunities. So many people say, you give me the low ones, or that's not a good opportunity. Any business is a good opportunity. Every listing or every buyer will typically bring one more. So if you got a listing you think might be a crappy one, so it's a crappy listing. It'll probably bring another listing. So that crappy listing brought you a good listing. So I treat them all, literally, I say it all the time, I treat them like little lottery tickets, and I don't know which one is going to win. I really don't, so you really do have to take it all on. So that's what I'm, still balancing about. And honestly, this is a totally new business for me, and unfortunately I'm now mid-spring, and I feel like I don't have the handle on 2015. Right. So it is a bit of reactive, reactive type of a business. Mm-hmm. I think I'm a pretty helter-skelter, so I'd love to say that I have control and I'm organized and I have these systems set in place, but it's a totally new business for me in 2015. So I do see myself as building a bigger business. I might make the same amount of money, but my business will grow. So I am about expanding the brand and the business, but my paycheck will probably stay the same, and that's fine. Right. So that's kind of where I'm at, because I'm really trying to expand and the wealth, if you will, that you can handle the business that I've technically come in, and make sure I can handle that business. That's the biggest downfall.
Okay. So guys, I see hands up and some questions. Because I'm doing this from the training room, I'm not going to bring up your questions until the end, because people won't be able to see Marianne. So just hold your questions till the end. I promise you can keep typing them in. I promise I'll take them, but we're going to take them all at the end. Okay, so let me see. Is there anything you would do differently, or anything that you wish you knew right out of the gate on day one?
Yeah, I mean, I wish actually, you know what I wish? I wish that I actually had the top agents come into my house and do a listing presentation before I jumped into real estate. If you really took, like, I always say that, I'm like, oh, I wish I had that knowledge knowing now. So you take the 3 best agents in Bucks County and ask them to do a listing presentation on your home. I would have loved to have seen the way that they present it, because it's taken me a long time to kind of get to that point on what's a good listing presentation. So that's one thing I regret not doing, but I didn't have that foresight to do it at the time.
The other thing that you had mentioned to me, and I'm gonna plug this a little bit, but something like this. You said you'd wish that something like this would have been available when we were practicing.
Yeah, I mean, I started in a Yeah, I did start it at a difficult time where I think everyone's numbers were down. So, it was just a really tough time. I mean, just even the atmosphere in the offices was very, very different than it is now. I mean, it is a totally different atmosphere. So, I'm excited that this is a good opportunity. I'm excited to be in this position that I can, maybe help out some newer agents. I wish I had that opportunity because I didn't really know. It was really trial and error. Did I make a lot of mistakes? I don't consider them mistakes, honestly, because I really learned from a lot of it. There's, people that, I showed 50, 70 houses to when I was a brand new agent. People would say, oh, it's a waste of time. I didn't. I saw it as an opportunity. I was, it was learning about the market. I learned how to, to treat people. I learned, it was really more about the inventory that I really learned. So I learned from that. Would I do that now and show 50 or 70 houses? No, I don't have the time for that. But it was all a learning experience. So I always say when you're learning, don't worry about that this, it's not like you're going to show 10 houses and then have a sale for it or have some results. But there's other ways to benefit and to measure success in the learning process.
Okay, great. What about mentors? Do you have any mentors, or do you have any like trainers or speakers, anybody that's really influenced your career in a positive way over the years?
Generally speaking, from an entrepreneurial, I definitely have an entrepreneurial mind. It's not really real to influence my business. It's more about so it's really been about entrepreneurial magazines, really young business, middle class business that has really influenced me. So from a real estate standpoint, I have to say, and I probably talked to a couple of people about this in one of our last meetings, I went in on the Gen Blue last year, and I have reached out to a couple of agents in different markets than we are here, and really asked them about, what their next level of business is. So right now I'm kind of doing that as we speak, and how did they kind of maintain the level of success and still, with that level of service that, obviously I pride myself on. That's been really, it's really more about business owners, not necessarily realtors. But so it's a new one for me that I'm tapping into.
Okay. What makes you different from other agents? Is there anything that you can attribute your success to? Anything in particular?
My 4 kids that my husband and I are supporting. No, I don't know. I just I think it's really hard work. I don't think it's anything that I'm doing magically. I'm just like any other realtor. Unfortunately, I do think of it as a big business, and I wanted to build it for my future and my children's future. I keep telling them don't be a realtor yet, but at some point they probably will. Because it is a great business. But I think it's just really hard work. Honestly, I don't think it's any magic. I think we're all doing a lot of the same. I just do think that I have made a commitment to whenever the business is there, I'm there. And so, yes, at this point, it does kind of run me, and I don't run it. So I'm going to try to, work on that a bit. But I know it's hard to do both. It's very, very hard to do both.
Okay. What does your ideal future look like? What's your future look like? What do you think the future of real estate in general is? What do you see going down the line?
The state, from being a realtor or just the market?
Both.
Okay, so being a realtor, I have to say there's, I think there's too many realtors. I think we're constantly competing, and I think that, when you're a full-time agent, and, they say 10% of the realtors do 90% of the work. From what I'm gathering, that is absolutely true. So it's a little bit of a strange industry that you can have that many realtors in a very small area, and then you're always competing against that. So, I call them onesie-twosies. You can do 1, 2, 3, 4 transactions, but, that's not a business. That's being a realtor, and that's fine. And I think everyone's at a different point, and I think it's a great opportunity to, have a local business. But I will say at the level that I do business, and I take it very seriously as a business, I think that the state of real estate, I think people are jumping back in. I think it should be a little bit more difficult. I think we should have more continuing ed. Sorry, everyone, but I think we should have more training on kind of more business sense and more well-rounded on the the mortgage side of things, the investing side of things, about running your own business. I think there's a lot to be had from a knowledge standpoint from a realtor. It's really not just about getting into a house and showing a house. So I wish the level was a little bit higher, and I think that the training should be a little bit more difficult to be a realtor to get that level of success rate up, because I think that I think that, we're just not looked upon as being really successful business owners. We're just realtors, and I would love to change that in the future.
Okay. One other thing that you said to me that I really liked when we were practicing is you said you treat every lead like a lottery ticket. And you kind of alluded to that a little bit. Every lead to you, you said you're a lead generator, and I do believe that. You've spent a lot of money, you've got a lot of leads coming in. How do you determine what do I pay attention to right now? I mean, what's your filter right now as far as how you're managing that?
So I treat everyone like they are my next transaction, period. I don't really look at the price range. I know people think that, that's really important. I don't. I've got people that, call me on a $150,000 deal, and I find out that they're an investor and they want 10 of those $150,000 deals. So that's a $1.5 million opportunity. So I don't really discriminate against my leads. I think, when I give out the leads, I think they're discriminatory, but it's a hard thing. You kind of, when I look back at my business, and I will look back at the last 12 months and say exactly where did I get that from, and what was my first impression of that lead. Typically, the ones that you would have discounted or maybe passed on or said, it's not important, are the ones that I actually settled on. So I don't really pick and choose. I just take it all and I treat it all. And that I do think is what makes me different. Because there's a lot of deals that many agents probably would have just kind of tossed or said it wasn't important, or I called once or I called twice. And it really is the diligence on the follow-up, which, again, follow-up is huge. I literally just this week, and I'm frustrated with myself, it was an opportunity that I had. This guy, it wasn't through relocation, but he was relocating, and he decided to stay. And this was last March, actually, in 2014. And it was a great relationship I had with him. I had referred him to some people to help him get his house ready for the market, and he said that he would follow up with me. I did not have him in a drip, not follow up with him, and I see it now on the market with another agent, and it was a huge missed opportunity for me. So I do beat myself up over that. I did check in with him, and I did say, hey, listen, I saw the house on the market. Congratulations. I hope you're moving to Puerto Rico. That's where he wanted to go. And I wished him luck, and I said, I would do everything I could to bring him a buyer. But it was a missed opportunity. So I do have a lot of that. So that's where the systems like you talked about, I am still kind of growing that business, but I'm only one person and I don't sleep very often, and it really is hard to manage that. So now I'm at a level where I have to change everything. So I would love a follow-up webinar to see if I ever was successful in doing that, but I do need a different system set in place. I think after you do like 25, 30 deals, it's a whole new business. So that is a whole new business for me. And I've tried to manage it, as best as I can on my own. And, I do think that there's opportunity there, systems-wise, to get a better feel for that and get, more control over that. But I think 25 deals is very manageable with one person and, maybe a little assistance, maybe not really a hired assistant, but some sort of help. But once you get over that 25 deals, I think it's like a whole new game changer. And now that I'm at 50, do I think I could do 100? Yeah, I think I could do 100. I can maintain the 50 that I did, and I think I could support 2 buyers agents that could probably do 20 deals a year. So my whole goal, which was something that you had asked me about, Steph, was how do I see my business? I see it as myself, a full-time assistant, plus 2 buyers agents, and I still would deal with buyers as well because I don't think that there's any way not to. But to have a team that does 100 deals a year. So I think that's extremely manageable. But you have to have the system set in place, which I am absolutely working on.
That's 2015. All right, so I'm going to take some questions, and I have people in this room, and they may have questions, but I'm going to hold off on you guys and take some of the ones that have been hanging out here. Please ask Marianne to describe her marketing program. So that's something that I was kind of wondering when you were talking about doing branding. what kinds of branding did you do? I know you said you did open houses, but what did you do? What was the branding that you were doing? Were you doing like postcards? Were you knocking on doors? What is it that you were doing initially?
I am not a door knocker, and I am not a cold caller. I do just listed, just sold, not consistently, but I do it periodically. I do some print campaigns where I do gallery quarterly. That was a big deal. I think that's more about listings, and it's great for a listing presentation. Does it really sell the house? No. Does it go on more, websites because I've gone on gallery? Yes, it definitely helps in that sense. There was a couple of things I did. There was, probably many of you don't get the newspaper, but the Bucks Courier-Times, and I did this locally, and I've been doing it consistently for 2 years. I have O'Keefe's Corner, and it's on the front page of the home section of, the real estate section, and I've done that consistently for 2 years. I have to say it has been really good for branding. I think, I had to commit a little bit differently because I didn't have a sphere of influence, so I really needed to brand myself. I really wasn't in a position where people even knew who I was. So I had thought about that. Now, that was a huge financial commitment for me to do, and I had to convince the newspaper to allow me to do it. So I fought to get that spot, and it is technically 2 ads, so I had to. You'll see it. It's in the top left corner of the real estate section. There's been, a couple listings that I went on where I said, well, I stopped asking where they got my name because I don't think they remember. But I've been on a couple of listing appointments where, there's my O'Keefe's Corner on their refrigerator. So I assume that that's working. So, from a branding standpoint, that was really important. Internet sites does it bring me direct business? It brings me absolute branding. It's a way for me to say how many listings I have, how many sales I have, that I'm active. It gives me a really good opportunity to do testimonials. And the testimonials were key for me because obviously I didn't have a history of living here, locally, that I could, tap into family and friends and my center of influence. So the key for me for branding was internet, doing some lead generations, really tapping into really keeping up with my current sellers and buyers, and hopefully the referral business, which definitely kicked in. And go back to your question, Stephanie, probably year 3 and year 4 is when the referral business started. That's a long time for referral business when you're starting a business to wait till year 3 or 4. And that's why I said it wasn't a benefit to me not knowing anybody here. I had to wait a little longer for that, center of influence. So I had to rely on honestly my marketing and branding. So, again, I don't think it was anything earth-shattering. I am immediate on my responses, which has gotten me into trouble because then they expect that for as long as I'm working with them. So the level of expectation from my clients is pretty high, and I do deliver that. But from a branding standpoint, that's kind of what I did to get things started.
Okay. What about Zillow and Trulia? I know you buy on one of them. Do you buy on both or just one?
I buy on both.
Okay.
I don't think one is better than the other. It kind of flip-flops. I know that they're now the same company, the same parent company. But again, I think the best part about that, it was really more about branding myself. Does it bring direct leads? No, I mean, I get a lot of calls from other realtors' clients, and they're like, well, I didn't want to bother my realtor. So I love that line, which I'm sure we get. I was thinking, why are you calling me? Why don't you call your realtor? But anyway, that does happen from time to time. The problem with Zillow and Trulia is you almost get too many leads, and it's so time-consuming to go through the whole process and making sure that, like I said, I treat each lead like a lottery ticket, and that's a lot of leads. If you get 100 leads and you get one, that 99 that I had to work and work and work and work, it's really time-consuming, and I've kind of run out of time. So it's that part is really hard. So they're not the best leads. I'm looking into some other opportunities. To get more qualified leads, and that's where I'm working on trying to get a processing agent that can kind of weed through those leads for me, at least scrub them initially, and then I can kind of jump in and maybe, from a time standpoint, deferring that time that I don't have on a day-to-day basis now. But the other thing to keep in mind is I cannot stop what brought me the success to get to this point, and that's where I'm struggling with, because I don't want to just say, okay, I'm here, and that's great, but if I don't continue to do what I did to get myself to this point, at some point I think you start to backpedal and you start to lose some of that. So, that's where I'm trying to, kind of figure out exactly, what to do and how to smartly really defer some of that business elsewhere, even if that's a cost for me.
Okay. So I have a question from Carol Kramer. Carol, I'm going to go ahead and open up your mic, so you should just be able to talk to us. All right, Carol, you're open.
I was going to ask about what do you do as far as your advertising, and you already answered it, but how about as far as putting ads in like magazines and things like that? Do you do that additionally, or you just...
Yeah, I don't do a lot of that. I do gallery. Again, I said that I do gallery just really for my listings, so that they can see themselves somewhere. I mean, I went on a listing appointment this morning, and basically I said, yeah, I'm going to put you in gallery, but unfortunately it won't be till June, because that's the next time, if we actually print campaigns. But with that being said, I do think that that brings more business from a branding standpoint. So I think there's two questions here. If it's for branding, I think it's great. Anything that you can advertise and you can market yourself and get your face out there, it's really, really important. Anybody that doesn't have their face out there, from a branding standpoint, who cares about your name? You need a photo. You have to do a photo. I know a lot of people just do their name, but nobody's going to remember their name. You kind of have to, from a branding standpoint, from a photograph, it is really important. Then they just start to see you, and then they start to see your sign. So, people that I've met where they haven't noticed my signs, I meet them, and they're like, now I see your sign everywhere. That's branding, and so that's where, it's been really successful. I used to do homes and land. I know the company does some homes and land for us periodically. I don't commit to that. There's been a couple of other print campaigns that I had opted to do, but I never did them with any great consistency. I think the internet stuff is probably better than a print campaign. But whatever you do, I will say whatever I commit to doing, I do for 6 months. You can't jump in, jump out, jump in, just do like 1 month or just one ad. You may as well not do any. So if you're going to do something, you have to commit to 6 months. Even quarterly is not good enough. You really have to do 6 months. So financially, whatever it is that you're thinking about doing, do it for 6 months, and then you can measure. And again, a lot of it is, you don't really know where you got the business. Sometimes, like I said, I used to ask, and I used to get the response of, well, what does it matter? And I'm thinking, yeah, you're right. I'm here already. It doesn't really matter. But I was trying to measure what worked and what didn't. So, I just kind of do it as a whole now, and they're getting me from somewhere. Who knows?
Okay. I have a question in the back of the room, so go ahead, Deb. Now, can you hear her?
No, I can't.
Okay. So Debbie was asking, you said you tap into some national websites when you start your day in the morning. Are there any websites that you could share with these guys where you look for your, for your information, your mortgage news or whatever news you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I look in the Wall Street Journal. I always start with the Wall Street Journal. And then I basically I do a lot of, Google searches in the morning and just say, today's hot real estate news, locally, nationally. Again, I really do make sure that it's a good source. If you see my O'Keefe's Corner, I always have a source, and typically I'm trying to put out some positive real estate news. I usually don't market negative real estate news. And there was, I'll tell you, in 2010, 11, and 12, it was really hard to find positive real estate news. So, but the thing is that people do need to always sell their houses. They always need to upsell, downsell. It's usually there's something good to be said. Either you can add, either it's like some market news that can what is from a let's say it was even what am I thinking of? Curb appeal, staging, how to market your property, the importance of a realtor, like anything that you can put out there that was positive news or getting them thinking, it was something that I always did. So, and I would also use that as maybe a newsletter. I used to do a newsletter. I'm probably going to get back into the newsletter field to make sure that I, can customize some pieces of real estate news that I want to get out there into the market. I don't do a lot of national information. I do try to do local, and I try to keep it obviously to Bucks County. So, and then if I have anything really specific in Yardley and Newtown, I will do that as well.
Okay. So do I have any other questions from anybody that's in front of me here? Yeah, Amy. Amy Levine, she's asking if you do any kind of drip email, any kind of like email marketing campaigns, that sort of thing?
Very badly, yes. But no, that's my focus, honestly, for 2015, is to really do a better drip campaign. I am not set up right now with a very good drip campaign, which is why I missed that opportunity that I just talked about with the guy that went to Puerto Rico. And that was a missed opportunity, and I see it as a huge loss, and I see it as a $10,000 mistake. So that's why I said I do take it really, really seriously. That was a $10,000 lottery ticket that I lost out on. So, I mean, honestly, that's just the way I think. And, I beat myself up all the time, but I think that's also what makes me successful, because I'm going to try not to do that again. I've been using 5 Street, which I'm not convinced it's the one that I'm going to end with, but I will say I'm using 5 Street right now. It organizes the leads that come in. It's something to look into. It also, you can manually make sure that it goes on a certain drip campaign, and whatever that is, it's obviously customizable. So I'm currently working on that. And that's been
realtor.com, correct? 5 Street realtor.com.
Yeah. Well, it can manage all of your lead generators into one source.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, those leads can all go into one source, and then it comes to you. Instead of it coming from realtor.com, Trulia, Zillow, it will come in as 5 Street.
Okay.
And the lead generators can come from any source. So managing that process is kind of what I'm currently working on.
Okay. Great. So Chris Beedling's telling me that it's 5 Street is a realtor.com program. So that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
Chris would know.
For anybody that's looking, okay. Let me see. I don't see any other hands up. Chris, while we were going, did we have questions as we were going along? No, nothing. Okay. I left them all there. Okay, great. So anybody in the room have any other questions for me? For Marianne? Okay, Marianne, is there anything that you want to add before we jump off and let you go?
No, I mean, honestly, from a, from my 2015 goals, I know that one of the things that you would ask me about was, obviously the income from 2014, where was that sourced from? Sellers, buyers, and rentals. I'm definitely more of a seller's agent this year. I am creeping on 26 listings right now, which is extremely difficult to manage. To do that with buyers, it is near impossible. I don't have history of being more of a listing agent. It was always balanced, so now I'm kind of tipping towards the listing side of things. I will say it's important to know, I mean, the successful agents are saying you need to be like 70% sellers, and 30% buyers. I probably will be that more this year than last year, but I was about 50-50 last year. So now I'm kind of gearing more towards how do I handle my listings and how do I communicate with my listings, because if I have 26 listings, everyone wants to talk to me for an hour a week minimum, and how do I give 26 hours? I mean, I can't do that and work. So how do you communicate, and that is the biggest focus that I have for 2015, is how do you manage that many listings and communicate the way you want to and still have a personal contact with those sellers.
Right.
So that's, my goals is to, my goal for 2015 is to make sure that that communication with my listings is there. So having systems set in place, and Chris Beeling, I'll be tapping into you to help me with that, is to make sure that that information is readily available, and where is that, and what do the sellers really want to see and know that I'm doing what I've promised to do. So that's been a big part of my focus for 2015 is concentrating on the listing side of things.
Okay. Now I do have another question that came in. What % of your income do you dedicate to marketing? Can you say even? I know it's hard. Anytime I ask somebody this question, they struggle with it.
No. I mean, hey, listen, I don't struggle with it at all. Now, let me specify. I would say 20% of my income. That does include my assistant, maybe 25% including my assistant, which I think is too much. I don't think, because the thing is that if you commit any more than that, and I'm getting any more business, I can't handle it anyway. So you have to be able to handle the business that's coming in that way. So I have committed probably 25% of my income to marketing and advertising. I'm probably going to back off that a little bit now that I can rely on maybe my center of influence, my current center of influence, and my referral business. So I probably can back off that a little bit, and that is my goal. My other goal is to not send the other 25% of my business, my income, to the IRS. Even though they're entitled to get paid, I have to, and that's what I was saying from a standpoint of now where the level that I'm at, I need guidance on now this new big business, because to hand a $100,000 check over to the IRS was not an easy feat for me. So how do you legally and business-wise protect your assets? So I opened a I did a limited partnership about 2 years ago, and this is something that I think is really, really important for, I think, everybody to hear, and I wish I knew this a couple of years ago, because I probably would have saved myself about 80 grand in the last 2 years if I knew this. And I think that this should be a big focus for realtors, no matter what level you're at. If you're doing 10 deals a year, if you're doing 50 deals a year, is how do you run a real estate business? And that's what I don't think realtors know. So I have really focused now, because for 2014 I opened up, I had to open up a SEP account, which is a retirement plan, so that I can protect some of my income, because it was all going to the IRS, and I'm like, why am I working so hard? It's all going to the IRS. So basically I have invested in my future and obviously my retirement, which has saved me, just me putting in the money into that SEP account, I saved myself like $17,000. Of my own income, and that was literally a decision I had to make last week, and that was it was a game changer for me, and I had to inform my husband that I did that after I did it. So it's really, really important. So I think the next level is how do you really run a real estate business, and how can you protect your income legally? And it's not to say that anything is illegal. Obviously I want to continue to work. I don't want to be in jail. But it's being really smart about your income. If you've got an income of $363,000 as a realtor, I need to have some really, really good sound advice from a financial advisor and an accountant. And that was something that I really wish that I think this is something that the company should focus on, and have maybe seminars on that, and maybe helping out that good advice to actually make sure that you're doing your real estate business from a manner that can keep your assets where they're supposed to be, so that you can build your business.
Okay, that's good advice. Any other questions from anybody either here or on the webinar? Okay, I don't see any more. So Marianne, I just want to say thank you very, very much for doing this. I really appreciate your time and the fact that you were willing to share with all of us. This is huge. and we really do appreciate it. So thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, we'll hang up for another 5 minutes or so. Marianne will stay on with me, and if you have any other questions, we'll answer them. Otherwise, you are free to go. All right, so we have another question. Doug says, thanks for the shout out.
Oh.
All right, not so bad, right?
No, it's fine. They probably have more questions now than before.
You're getting lots of thank yous.
Okay.
Oh, thanks. And thank yous in the room as well.